We're going to practice these steps using a fictional scenario. In our scenario, two boys, Aaron and Jet, were playing Fortnite and came in second place. Mad that they didn't win, of course, they started placing blame on each other. And they started arguing. Jet was, "Why didn't you push with me?" Aaron said, "I didn't think it was a smart move." "Why not? It was a 2 versus 2. We could have won that easily." "They had the high ground on us." "Okay, and?" "There was no chance we win that fight with the position they had on us." "Well, maybe you should just be better at the game. Obviously, you aren't all that, since you didn't kill either one of them." "Well, you shouldn't have left me alone. Communicate better next time." And then Jet gets mad, of course, and says whatever and ends the conversation. In class, what is a effective way that they could have resolved this conflict without arguing and yelling at each other? The best way is using the skill cues that we went over earlier. The first one being an I statement to indicate the reason they are mad and the ideas of how they could resolve the issue. And we'll discuss this more in just a minute. Next, by managing their stress. They should think for just a second and decide on whether or not the video game is something they could potentially risk their friendship over. They should also have a mutual conversation. They should talk about what they did and if they could have done something else. Next, they'll focus on the action and not the person. Aaron and Jet both need to make it known that they are just mad at what happened and not mad at each other. Discussing their feelings and finding a solution is what they should do next. They need to tell each other what they were feeling and discuss how they should handle the situation better next time. In the game, maybe, and person to person. Is this a problem that should escalate? No, obviously. It's just a video game, and it's nothing that should be taken too seriously, especially when a friendship is on the line, if it escalates to that. Next, we need to put the cues into action and create an I statement for both Aaron and Jet that would prevent an escalation from either of them. Alright, an example of this could be on Aaron's side. "I feel like they had better positioning on us. I agree that we could beat them in a fair playing field. I just think that maybe we should consider where they are set up before we rush next time." And on Jet's end, he could say, "I feel like we could have won that fight if we just pushed together. Yes, they did have better positioning on us, but I do think we could have won." If they would have used something like this, it obviously wouldn't have come out as hostile and maybe prevented the argument. And how do you think it'll work out, class? I think it'll work out because they communicate. If they use the I statements, it'll work out better because they communicated effectively and avoided all the hostility. And now we're going to go over scenario in groups. We're going to get into groups of 4, and one person needs to be the reader, and the others need to write out what you all discuss and what you get for the answers. The reader should still be participating in the conversation. I'll number you off. And here's the scenario. I'd also give them a paper for this. Alright, Henry and Alyssa are playing basketball against each other. Alyssa is beating Henry, and Henry is getting frustrated. He accuses Alyssa of cheating. Alyssa gets offended and tells him that she is not. Then they begin to argue. And then for this scenario, I want the students to develop an I statement for both. And I also want them to come up with a civil discussion and resolution conflict and then write them down. After working together for a few minutes, the groups will get to discuss their answers out loud. We'll go over them all as a class and talk about how each group got what they got. And then that would conclude our lesson for today. I have gone over quite a bit today about communication and how it can resolve conflicts without getting angry. Now what you have learned today is extremely important because it can save a lot of relationships. We all come into contact with others every day. Usually it is with people that we are close to. Sometimes we will not agree on everything because we're human. We all have different views. It will be important to use these skill cues taught in the lesson so that we can control our anger and communicate effectively.